Imagine growing up in a world where every day could be the last day of normal life. That's the world Eva Gabor was born into in 1919 in Budapest, Hungary, a city trembling with political unrest where power shifted hands like cards in a poker game. Eva wasn't just any child. She was the youngest of the three Gabor sisters, Magda, Zsa Zsa, and Eva. And from the very beginning, their mother Jolie drilled one message into them. You are not ordinary girls. You were born to be seen. But being seen came with a price. In the Gabor household, glamour wasn't optional. It was survival. The girls were trained like royalty, perfect posture, perfect smiles, flawless manners. While other children were playing in the streets, Eva was being polished like a diamond, prepared for a stage she hadn't even stepped on yet. And as Europe slid deeper into chaos, that polish became her weapon. Eva learned resilience, adaptability, and something far more valuable, the art of reinvention. Those traits would save her life, and later make her the most beloved Gabor of them all. When she left Hungary for America, Eva wasn't just chasing fame, she was escaping a world falling apart. She arrived in Hollywood not as a struggling foreigner, but as a woman already armed with elegance, charm, and a dangerous kind of ambition. She wasn't there to blend in, she was there to stand out. And she did. But here's the secret no one tells you. In a family where scandal and headlines were currency, Eva knew she had to play a different game. While her sisters leaned into drama and chaos, Eva quietly built something far more powerful, a career based on talent. And that difference would change her fate forever. Hollywood in the 1940s was a shark tank. For every actress who landed a role, there were hundreds who vanished into the background, never to be heard from again. But Eva Gabor, she refused to be background. At first she took small roles, a secretary here, like a society woman there, but audiences noticed something the casting directors almost missed: her timing. Eva had this razor-sharp comedic instinct. She could drop a line with a mischievous smile and turn a forgettable scene into the one you couldn't stop thinking about. Producers started to realize this wasn't just another pretty face with an accent. Eva was funny. And in Hollywood, funny meant staying power. But her real explosion came in the 1960s with Green Acres. Imagine it. The country was changing, television was booming, and Eva stepped into the role of Lisa Douglas, the glamorous city wife forced to trade skyscrapers for pig pens. On paper, it looked ridiculous, but Eva turned it into gold. Her accent, her wide-eyed delivery, her sparkling gowns in the middle of cornfields. America ate it up. Week after week, viewers tuned in not for the farm, not for the husband, but for Eva. She wasn't just playing a role, she was redefining what it meant to be glamorous and lovable at the same time. And here's the scandalous truth. While Zsa Zsa made headlines with marriages and court battles, Eva was quietly becoming the real star of the family. She didn't need to slap a cop or throw shade at Hollywood parties. She had something far more valuable, a character everyone adored, and a reputation as the approachable Gabor. By the time Disney handed her the role of Duchess in The Aristocats and later Miss Bianca in The Rescuers, Eva had crossed into a different kind of immortality. She wasn't just a star, she was a voice imprinted on childhoods across America. But fame is never the whole story. And behind that warm smile and those elegant gowns, Eva's private life was unraveling in ways more dramatic than anything Hollywood could write. By the 1970s, Eva Gabor had already conquered television, but then came a twist nobody expected. She didn't just dominate screens, she became the voice of an entire generation. In 1970, Disney called. They needed someone who could embody elegance, sophistication, and warmth, but also a touch of playful charm. There was only one answer, Eva. And just like that, she became Duchess in the Aristocats. Now think about this. Millions of children sitting cross-legged on shag carpet floors in the 70s heard Eva's unmistakable voice purring across the screen. They didn't know her as the glamorous woman from Green Acres. They knew her as the mother cat who taught them about love, family, and grace. But Disney wasn't done with her. 7 years later, Eva voiced Miss Bianca in The Rescuers, a role so beloved she reprised it over a decade later in The Rescuers Down Under. That means 3 different generations of children grew up with Eva's voice echoing in their childhood memories. And here's the irony, while her sisters fought for headlines, Eva had achieved something none of them ever did. She became immortal. Long after the scandals of the Gabor family faded, Eva's voice would still live on in Disney's golden vault. But off-screen, Eva's real life looked nothing like the fairy tales she brought to life. Because behind the curtains of fame, her love life was collapsing in ways even Disney wouldn't dare script. If Eva's career was shimmering, her personal life was chaos in slow motion. She married 5 times. 5. Each marriage like a new roll of the dice. Each one starting with hope, glamour, and champagne toasts, and each one crashing down in disappointment. Her first husband, a Swedish psychologist. It ended with cruelty accusations and Eva heartbroken, admitting in court that all she wanted was children, but he flat out refused. That wound never really healed. Her second marriage seemed safer, a wealthy American broker. Financial security? Yes. Emotional intimacy? Not a chance. Divorce number 2. By the time she married her third husband, a plastic surgeon, Eva seemed cursed. That marriage didn't even last a year. Imagine the headlines. Eva Gabor divorces again. But then came Richard Brown, her 4th husband. For nearly 14 years, Eva stayed married, in her longest relationship yet. At last, it looked like she'd found stability, but fame is a cruel mistress. As Eva's Green Acres career soared, the marriage cracked under the pressure. By 1973, it was over. Her 5th and final marriage gave her something she'd always longed for. Children. Not her own, but stepchildren from her husband's first marriage. For the first time, Eva played the role of stepmother, and those who knew her said she embraced it with warmth and love. But even that union collapsed after a decade, and if you think the story ends there, it doesn't. Enter Glenn Ford, one of Hollywood's leading men. Eva and Glenn's romance was an on-again, off-again saga that spanned decades. Sometimes they were inseparable, sometimes they were miles apart. At one point they nearly married, but just like the others, it fizzled into heartbreak. And here's a scandalous twist. Even in her later years, Eva was linked to the powerful TV mogul Merv Griffin. The two were constant companions, sparking endless rumors. Lovers? Maybe. A cover for Griffin's private life? Possibly. What's certain is that their bond gave Eva comfort in her final years, even if the truth was more complicated than the public ever knew. Eva could make millions laugh on screen, but in her own home, she spent her life searching and never quite finding the one thing she wanted most: lasting love. The Gabor sisters were Hollywood's original royal family. When they walked into a room, flashbulbs exploded. Magda, Zsa Zsa, and Eva, each one beautiful, each one glamorous, each one impossible to ignore. But behind those dazzling smiles, the tabloids whispered about something darker: jealousy, rivalry, and sisters who secretly couldn't stand each other. Zsa Zsa was the firecracker, She lived for headlines, court battles, and scandalous one-liners that made the press drool. Magda drifted between high society husbands and glittering parties. And then there was Eva, the quiet one, the one who wanted to be known for her work, not just her last name. For years, Eva stayed silent, letting the world believe she and Zsa Zsa were locked in a bitter competition. But in a rare, vulnerable moment, she finally spoke up. People always thought Zsa Zsa and I were competing, she confessed. But in truth, we wanted completely different things. Her words hit like a thunderclap. Eva admitted that while Zsa Zsa chased the spotlight with reckless passion, Eva longed for steady work, meaningful roles, and respect. She didn't need the circus, she wanted stability. But Eva didn't stop there. She peeled back the curtain on Zsa Zsa's private side. Yes, Zsa Zsa was fiery, loud, sometimes even reckless, but Eva revealed something the tabloids never did. Zsa Zsa could also be tender, generous, and deeply loving. And here's the gut punch. Eva admitted she had stayed silent all those years because she didn't want to add to the circus. Their family name was already plastered across every paper in America. She wanted to protect something sacred, something private. It was a rare glimpse into the pain of living in a family where fame was both a crown and a curse. And for Eva, it was a reminder. Being the quiet Gabor didn't mean she escaped the chaos. It just meant she carried it differently. But while the rumors of rivalry slowly faded, Eva was about to face something far more devastating than gossip. A twist of fate that no Hollywood script could have written. By the summer of 1995, Eva Gabor was still dazzling. At 76, she remained as charming and radiant as ever. Friends said she had that rare gift. When she walked into a room, you felt lighter. But life has a way of turning in an instant. That summer, Eva was vacationing in Mexico, her sanctuary, her place to recharge. One evening, something so ordinary, so harmless happened. Yet it changed everything. She slipped in a bathtub. A fall. At first, it didn't seem serious. Just a bruise. Maybe a little soreness. Nothing to worry about. But days later, the complications began. The fall had weakened her body, leaving her vulnerable. Then came pneumonia. Silent, creeping, merciless. For younger people, it might have been treatable. But for Eva, at her age, it was deadly. On July 4th, America's Independence Day, Eva Gabor, the woman who had once embodied glamour, grace, and charm, took her final breath. Hollywood lost one of its brightest lights. And here's the cruel twist. Eva was the youngest Gabor sister, the one everyone thought would outlive them all. Yet she was the first to go. Her funeral was held at Good Shepherd Catholic Church in Beverly Hills, a place that had seen countless Hollywood legends come and go. Friends, family, and fans gathered not to gossip, not to talk scandal, but to remember Eva as she truly was, warm, approachable, funny, and deeply human. For decades, she had been overshadowed by the flamboyance of her sisters. But in death, people finally understood. Eva wasn't just another Gabor. She was the heart of the family. And as the curtain closed on her life, one haunting question lingered. If fate hadn't taken her so soon, would Eva have finally found the happiness she spent her whole life searching for? Eva Gabor's story ended too soon, but her legacy never faded. She wasn't just the quiet sister. She wasn't just Lisa Douglas from Green Acres or Duchess from the Aristocats. She was proof that in a family drowning in scandal, one woman could rise above it with grace, humor, and a kind of elegance Hollywood rarely sees anymore. When Eva died in 1995, the Gabor dynasty began to crumble. Within 2 years, her mother Jolie and her sister Magda were gone too. Zsa Zsa, the most flamboyant of them all, outlived her sisters by 2 decades, But even she passed in 2016, closing the chapter on one of Hollywood's most infamous families. And yet, ask anyone who knew them, Eva was different. Eva was loved. She didn't need the courtroom fights, the wild quotes, or the scandals to make headlines. Her smile, her warmth, and her work gave her something her sisters never quite achieved: authentic affection from the public. She once said, "I wanted to be known for my work, not just my name." And she was. Generations remember her as the glamorous wife on a farm, the elegant duchess teaching kittens about love, the brave Miss Bianca saving the day. Eva became timeless because she chose to let her talent speak louder than the gossip. But here's the question that still lingers. Did Eva ever find the true love she spent her life searching for? Or was her destiny always to remain a star, admired by millions, but never truly understood by the one person she wanted most? Maybe that's the bittersweet magic of Eva Gabor. She left us wondering. And sometimes that mystery is what keeps a legend alive forever. So what do you think? Was Eva Gabor the most underrated Gabor sister? Or was she the one who secretly had it all, even without the scandals? Let me know in the comments.